Well, this Women's Month, the Justice Desk is running its I Am a Girl with a Dream campaign. This year, it's celebrating women and the power of girls, dreams, of course, and hopes for the future. Now, the campaign aims to encourage girl children to keep working to actualize their dreams. For more on this, the Justice Desk Chief Donor Officer, that is Kayla Britton, joins us. Thank you so much for taking your time, Kayla, to chat to us this evening. Now, this is a very exciting campaign, especially in a very important month like this, also focusing on young children, girls especially. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, firstly, thank you so much for having me. I think it's always fantastic whenever we get a chance to get a platform to talk about messages as important as this. When we talk about Girl with a Dream, we know that South Africa is facing an incredibly ridiculous crisis when it comes to gender-based violence and femicide. And often our narrative is always placed on, how strong women have to be, how powerful they have to be. But that shouldn't always be the case. Our girls should also have the freedom, the space to dream, to start to realize what they want to do in the world and not constantly worry about the target they have placed on their back. So our Girl with a Dream campaign is aiming to enlighten the space, to talk about how young girls have this vision, have this dream for themselves that can be something as simple as, recognizing that they want to go out and do what they want to do and not what the world tells them to do. We work with incredible young people in our organization through a range of projects, particularly our Mbokoro project for girl survivors of rape and gender-based violence. And one thing that we've learned is that one of the most important things for us to do for them is to recognize and give them the platform to dream, to be, to thrive, and to not always worry about safety or worry about what the world tells them they should or should not be. Now, that is obviously a very difficult thing to be talking about when we are waking up to statistics, waking up on the 1st of August, recognizing that, young women are being killed left, right, and center, raped, and having to deal with the harrowing effects of the trauma placed on them to be able to survive in this country. But at the same time, it is our role, it is our duty to make sure that young girls have the space to just be, to dream. We talk about this at the Justice Desk. There's this concept of, women and girls, no matter what you put them through, they're going to survive, they're going to thrive, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. We always have this saying, you clip our wings and we invent a new way to fly. But that isn't it anymore. We don't want to have our girls have to reinvent the way they survive in our country. We want them to be able to just be. And I think this campaign has been incredibly important for us because we've highlighted how far our young girls have come. We've highlighted that we have worked with incredible young people who are more than their experiences of rape and gender-based violence. They are young girls with dreams. We had one of our youngest say something, I used to think before I joined the Justice Desk and the Mbokoro Club that I was nothing, that I was the reason that what happened to me happened. And we managed to work with her and make her recognize that she was never the problem. She was never the reason for what she underwent. And she's come out of the project saying things like, I may be a little girl with a big dream, and I used to think that I'd have to ask permission to have that dream, but now I don't. Now I'm going to grab it. Now I'm going to do what I need to do to achieve what I need to achieve. So with that being said, we as a country, we as a collective need to stand together and make sure our girls have space to dream and have space to experience life to the fullest and not always worry about whether or not they can walk from A to B or visit their friends or be in their households.
It is very true what you're saying, especially now with, so many cases of GBV that we here at ENCA constantly report on. And it's just saddening to see that this is the state of our country at the moment. And we're having to fight something that I feel and everyone else feels it's something that we are not supposed to be fighting. The Mbokoro Club, it sounds very interesting. I'm not very clued up on it because you mentioned it a few times now. Is this a space for young girls to go to, or do you approach girls? How does it work exactly?
So the Justice Desk has a major footing in communities in South Africa. So for many years, we were working with community leaders, community members to identify what are the needs in the context that we work in. How do we make sure that we work together to bring about positive change? And what they identified was that our girls and women need a space to feel safe, to feel protected and empowered. And through the Mbokoro Club, we ensure that our young girls have access to mental health support and trauma counseling, but also that they have access to empowerment workshops, and then also self-defense and physical fitness to build their confidence and their ability to get out of certain situations. But the project isn't just a standalone, and I think that's something that's very important for us to bring up. We also have the Nsiki Yatemba project for young boys who are pillars of hope in the community, who are addressing gender-based violence. Because our young girls, again, they cannot always be at the forefront of addressing the problem that they are experiencing. It needs to be challenged by the main perpetrators, which are boys and men in our country. And our Nsiki Yatemba boys currently have a campaign running in unison with the Girl with the Dream campaign to challenge toxic masculinity, to challenge toxic norms, and to address the problems that are being faced in our world that are not our girls' burden to carry. And I think that's fundamentally important. So this project works with 125 young girls. We have lists and rows of young girls who want to join, but we just need the resources to do so. So this Women's Month, we call to action with the Girl with a Dream campaign for people to donate, to start having the conversation. We talk about the role we play as everyday people in our country to change the narrative. And we are doing that at the Justice Desk, but we can't do it alone. We need everyone to step up. We need everyone to recognize the role that we play in voting for something that we want to change. This incredible young boy that I worked with in Zambia said to me, you know, us boys and men need to address gender-based violence on our continent. And we need to recognize that sometimes it's incredibly difficult to break a chain, but we are going to start a new one. If we cannot break that chain that exists, that normalizes violence, we're going to start an absolute new one that is going to make sure that girls and women and people are safe and protected and feel free to flourish and realize their dreams and actualize them in a space. So it takes all of us. It's going to take all of us. And the Bokoro Club project is a fantastic way forward. Yeah. And anyone and everyone who wants to support must just join us.
Fantastic. No, it's so true what you're saying. I mean, you can arm girls with so much ammo, but if the boys and the men in this country, if they don't come to the table, it's basically, you know, it's work lost there. But it's fantastic that you guys are doing so much to help not just the girls but also young men to also own up to their actions, but also to prevent things from happening in the future and to teach them about gender-based violence. Now, you also do work in other African countries, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we do.
Please tell us more about that.
Sure. So we are ultimately, the message of the Justice Desk is to transform the African continent, to start looking at ways in which we can address human rights violations at every level. So we're not just limited to South Africa. South Africa is where majority of our work happens, but we also work in Zambia and Zimbabwe and beyond. We're moving into other African countries because we believe that as a collective, power needs to be placed in the hands of those living on the African continent, because the true experts in any space are those living in that reality. And that is why we're working alongside incredible people who know how to bring about the change but are not given the platforms to do so. So the Justice Desk is utilizing any resource that we have, any partners, any support to make sure that the voices of those on the African continent are heard, respected, and are able to challenge the human rights violations that are prevalent in our world and in the African continent as a whole. So the work that we do spans across those countries. We work with incredible young people in particular through our Youth Ambassadors project that empowers young people to address and identify the needs that are in their context and recognize that they don't need someone to come in from another country to save them. Essentially, we help people to recognize that the power that they hold is within them, and change can come about when they recognize that they can be the change they want to see in the world. So the work isn't limited. Our work when it comes to human rights is a global fight. It's one that we all need to do. It's one that we all need to fight and stand alongside one another to achieve. Because if we want to address the problems that we're facing at a global level or at a continent level, we need to make sure that there are people from the different contexts sitting at the table to bring about that change. Change is not something that we can restrict to one area or to one country. It's something that we need to bring about as a whole. And I think that that is where it stems from. And Bokoro and Nsika were also working to move into other African countries because gender-based violence is something that is prevalent everywhere. Human rights violations are prevalent everywhere, and we're going to change that as the Justice Desk.
Let's talk about, you know, the government's role here as well. I mean, it's something we always talk about, but from your perspective, do you collaborate with government with some projects? Would you like to see more help maybe coming from their side?
So this is always such an important question because I think that for a long time we always say, you know, government needs to do more. And I agree with that. They really, really do. People in power need to recognize that they have influence and they have a way of being able to ensure that the voices that of those who are placed in positions where they're not heard are heard and given the platforms. So the Justice Desk does work alongside government through the National Strategic Plan. And I think that what's fundamentally important there is that a lot of the work being done is by other NGOs, other non-profit organizations who are coming together to bring up their expertise and their knowledge of on-the-ground work to a government level. So government needs to do more. People on the ground need to do more. We all need to play our part in addressing this incredibly horrendous situation that we have been facing and are facing in our country. So in my opinion, yes, government does need to do more. They need to step up. Our police minister needs to step up. And everyone working in positions of power needs to recognize that their voice has power to bring about additional platforms for people who are silenced in these spaces. I mean, what we need to realize as well is if I speak to a lot of the work that we do on the ground, those that show up first are women and the girl child. Those that are marching and protesting and demonstrating outside courthouses when rapists and murderers are being let free because the correct steps have not been followed. Those demonstrating outside are always women and girls. I want to see men. I want to see boys. I want to see them stepping up as well. So we can place a lot of pressure on government, and we always should, because they work for us, not the other way around. But at the same time, we need more voices that are on the ground in positions of power to bring about positive change. So we can place blame on one entity. We can place blame on one group, but that's not going to solve anything. What we need to realize is that government, civil society, NGOs, people on the ground, your neighbor, your family member, yourself need to step up and realize that we can only bring about change if all of us bring about that change as a collective. I think as human beings, it's very natural for us to sort of want a figurehead or to pinpoint the blame on one person. And that can sometimes feel like it's going to ease a lot of the pain that we're experiencing, but that isn't going to result in a solution. We need to recognize that every single person has to come to the party and every single person has to realize the role that they play in bringing about change. And I think that's what's been fundamentally important for us at the Justice Desk. We've had young people step up and realize, you know what, I can complain and I can say, we need to, this is bad, this is wrong, this is where the problem lies. But if we're not bringing up the solutions that we see fit to bring about change, then we're part of the problem as well. We need to always look at the collective force that we could be. You know, we have different people with different areas of expertise. We're working with young boys, young girls, people in the queer community who give different perspectives and different solutions and offer up various different ways of handling situations that I think we often sometimes think, oh no, it's reserved to only a particular type of person to bring about that change. I mean, even at the Justice Desk, our CEO, Jessica, always speaks about how fantastic Nelson Mandela was and is in our memories. But he was not one person bringing about change. He was a figurehead for many that came together to work alongside bringing about change in a country that needed the change to happen. And that is what we need. Yeah. We need to recognize the role we will play.
Kayla, I wish we could talk for so much longer, but unfortunately, you know, time is of the essence here, and we only have so much of it. Last question, where can people go to help?
So I think most importantly, visit justicedesk.org. Follow us on all our social media platforms. You already follow us, so fantastic. I want everyone else to do the same. So at the Justice Desk. And find out more about how you can get involved, because what's beautiful about us as an organization, we make it accessible and we make it something that we can do. So as much as this is a very difficult topic to often discuss, we are seeing incredible change happening. We are seeing incredible people step up, and change is possible and change is happening. You just need to join us. You need to donate. You need to get involved. And if you can't volunteer your time and you can't give us a like on social media, which I'm sure you can visit our website and you can donate and ensure that more young people get involved in the work that we're doing, and we create a South Africa and an Africa that we want to live in. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Kayla. And of course, you know, thank you for the great work that you do there at the Justice Desk. Chief Donor Officer Kayla Britton on ENCA chatting to us about their Women's Month campaign.